Welcome back, everybody. It's another episode of The Human Side of Marketing. I'm your co-host, Chris Angel. Here with your host, as always, Kurt Stockwell.
Hello, Chris. How are you doing today?
Come on down, Kurt Stockwell. You're the next contestant on The Human Side of Marketing.
Oh, yeah. That's kind of Price is Righty. Huh? Were you into that show? Were you into that show as a kid? Like,
I loved that show as a kid.
Did you?
Yeah, $1, Bob. I bid $1.
I could never really figure that whole $1 thing out. I'm not enough of a math magician to be like, actually, it'd be very interesting to know the story of the guy that actually figured out the $1 strategy.
Yeah.
I bet the first time that happened, Bob Barker was like,
what? $1? Hey, wait, he's like, time. Can we do that? Can we do like,
yeah, right.
Can we do $1? Is that legal?
Right. I need to put my little pencil microphone down and ask a question. Or that microphone, that bizarre microphone.
That really long one with like the little lollipop on top.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like a really big sucker. I mean, a really long sucker.
Yeah, exactly.
That's hilarious. Tootsie Pop. Well, I mean, speaking of The Price is Right, which was a very fruitful show.
Nice segue.
I was looking. We're talking about Followup is Fruitful today. Yeah. Followup is Fruitful.
Followup is Fruitful. Yep. I think one of the easiest things that you can do in your marketing is actually follow up.
Wait,
yeah.
Hold the phone. What?
Stop the presses. Right. Yeah. You know, we work so hard to acquire attention that sometimes when we get it, we do a poor job of nurturing the relationship to actually make a sale.
Yeah.
And I think I know I'm guilty of it. I think we're all guilty of it. It's a different mindset almost from, like the hunting and the kill, and then like getting the kill back home, I guess you could say.
Right. Or farming. I think there's a lot of farming metaphors. Like in real estate is my background. Farming is a strategy where you plant the seed and you nurture it and you water it. And over time there's fruit from the harvest, but farming is definitely different energy than hunting.
Right. And I think the thing that I want to talk about today is how do you follow up in a way that separates you from your competition? Because I think everybody's got a follow-up process. And often that process can get a little bit robotic. I think it can get a little bit like checking a box. Right. And you're talking to somebody maybe at a networking event, or you get an opportunity to connect with them to land the sale, and you just go through your robotic process of like, here's bid. Do you like bid? If don't like bid, ask question, and we all of a sudden turn into this like, non-human robotic process when we're trying to land the sale. And it's actually, again, it's part of that nurturing process of a relationship. You're wanting to, we've said it before, you wanting to get married, when you're doing your initial marketing, it's kind of like the first date. You don't want to talk too much. You want to look all put together. You don't want to be too, like in their face, but eventually you got to get down on one knee and ask for, ask to get married. And so, hey, there's marriage analogies that we could go to farming, hunting. Yeah. I mean, marriage, geez, there you go.
We're on fire.
But anyway, follow up.
Well, I just want to throw in too, before we get into the tactics of it. Like, I heard years ago, most of your leads are not now leads. Like most of the people you're encountering, and even the people who might even express interest, are not now leads. They're not going to buy from you now. So all the more to your point of like, follow up is fruitful. Like, because the majority of people you're encountering right now are not going to buy from you right now.
Right. Yeah. They want time to think about it, and they want time to process the information that they're, and if you have a high ticket item, this is especially for people who have a high ticket item. If your product is, over $100, over $1,000, then people are going to it's going to be more of a process of acquiring knowledge as to what they're really buying. Again, what problem you're solving before they're willing to shell out that money. So this is something you need to do. Your follow-up process has got to be dialed in. And what I want to talk about today, there's a lot of things that we could talk about related to following up, but what I want to talk about is during the relationship of nurturing that potential client into a sale, you need to be an empathetic listener.
Hmm. Hmm.
You need to be listening for the things that they talk about as a problem. You need to be listening to the things that when they are talking about your product solving a problem in their life, because every product that we sell solves a problem, right? Don't get away from that when you're doing your marketing. And we've talked about that many times.
Right.
How do they perceive themselves? What's the transformation that they're looking for when that problem is solved?
Yeah. That's interesting because I would think of empathetic listening from a sales perspective in a let's do a consultation and see if it's a fit.
Mm-hmm.
How does that apply then for follow-up though?
So when you're following up, put things in your follow-up email. This is many times an email or maybe even phone calls.
Yeah.
Where you can say, hey, I know that you're still trying to make a decision about this fill in the blank. When you're ready to stop worrying about this and kind of transform into the success of not having to worry about that anymore, I'm ready to help. Or maybe a testimonial of somebody else that you've helped through that process who had those same fears or those same, they've expressed the same type of feedback. Like, man, if I got this from you, I would have so much more time
right.
to fill in the blank. Like maybe they've said, oh yeah, this would save me so much more time and I wouldn't have to work hours on Saturdays. Like right now I come in on Saturdays and I get this aspect of my business done because I have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And you're thinking about that and going, oh, okay, so they're working on Saturday. So when you are following up, you're like, hey, not only is this a great product, but it'll give you more time with your family on Saturdays.
Yeah, that takes real observation to like notice. Those are even unspoken things. Those are just things you notice, like in the timestamp of an email or whatever.
Right. I've got a colleague that he has a kind of a fun process when he follows up with somebody. He goes into the kind of the 1, 2, 3 of what will happen when they get his services. So he's like, 1, this problem's going to be solved. 2, this problem's going to be solved. And 3, you'll get more time with your kids. So he puts that last step of what they can expect when they use his product as the empathetic thing that he heard them say, like you'll get more time to spend on your boat, or you'll get more time to focus on the things that you need to do as a business owner, or you'll have to worry less about where the next sale is coming from. You're going to have to like really kind of fill in the blank as to what your problem solves, or what problem your product solves. But that last piece of it, that you're going to do this and this and this. And often businesses they already kind of have down what they know what their product does, but maybe that last little win is the thing that you heard them say as to a solution that they're looking for. So one thing that I do when I'm talking to somebody is I'll say, with our services with marketing, I'll say, where do you feel stuck in your current marketing? And they'll talk about it. And, then I'll ask the question specifically, like, how does that make you feel?
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what I'm looking for, is that gem that I'm going to put into an email later and say, when you're ready to stop feeling overwhelmed, or when you're ready to stop feeling, in my case anyway, when I'm talking to people, stop feeling like you're throwing money in the trash for your marketing efforts, things like that.
Yeah. Wow. That's really good. If you looked at that in comparison to how most people follow up, like I would say, first of all, most people don't follow up. That's the primary method.
Yeah, that's
and then, and then the second method is probably more of a either a canned type of email autoresponder thing, or just a hey, where are you at? I'm just following up. Like, are you ready or not ready?
Yeah, you'll see the email. Just checking in. Have you made a decision yet? Question mark.
Yeah.
Have a good weekend.
Right. Which, if you just did to your exact point of empathetic listening, if you just listened a little bit more and had the moment to write down or capture that thing that you heard, that's then what you could use. It doesn't take a lot of extra effort. I think it takes a lot of intention. Like you have to think you have to go into the conversation going, this is what I'm going to come away with.
Right. Right. So follow up is fruitful. Just following up is fruitful. I mean, there's definitely, I'm sure that folks out there who have gone through the process of sending the, hey, just checking in, didn't made a decision yet, email. Right. They're listening going, ooh, I just did that last week. But, maybe that's worked sometimes and, good for you. But I think you're going to find more, more of your sales will close, more of your deals will close when you have that process of following up in the right way. But like you said, it has to be intentional initially. You have to have the intention of empathetically listening when you're talking to them about their need.
Right. I also think too that so much of running, having clients that I enjoy, let's say it that way, is when people are coming in warm to working with me and not like skeptical or apprehensive or cold. And I think a lot of times if you don't follow up, what happens is they forgot why they were working with you. They don't want to go through more interviews with other people. So they pick you, but they don't know why. And then they come in colder and maybe more demanding. They come in more, I don't know, there just has to be this whole thing of like reconvincing again, just back to marriage and dating. There is this whole warm-up period again. But if you do the follow-up over time, they come in so much warmer.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially now, sometimes follow-up is like 6-8 months, year later,
Could be.
And in your little tickler file, I don't know if if you're listening and you don't have a CRM where you can make notes about following up, you got to get one. We recommend one called One Page CRM.
Yeah.
But in that little tickler file, you got to make that note about the thing that they mentioned, hey, fill in the blank, I know you were worried about sales last year and you didn't have the money to, like we've done this before, you didn't have the money to spend to focus on your digital marketing last year and you were worried about sales.
Right.
How did that go? Were you able to solve the problem of making more sales, or are you still kind of stuck in a rut?
Right.
And so focusing on that from very specific notes is really helpful.
Side note on that, I know that you work with not just individual business owners, but companies that have employees and teams. And again, most companies that size would have some kind of CRM, but for your team members to put the empathetic thing they heard in the notes of the contact records so that the whole team can benefit from the empathetic moment. In follow-up, like if there's somebody else doing an intake that wasn't the person on the front end of inside or outbound sales, and they're able to pick up the conversation where it left off over here. Like, I mean, seriously, talk about fruitful.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a mindset of thinking about, really at the end of the day, like this is called the human side of marketing, right?
Right.
The person on the other side of the conversation, the human being that has emotions and feelings and fears, and they're looking for success and they've got emotional highs and lows. And we're all just looking to make a better connection with anything that we do in business and in life and whatever. And sometimes you forget that the person on the other side's an actual human. It's just like another job you're trying to close, or another, thing that you're trying to sell,
Totally. Yeah.
Another beast you're trying to kill.
This is like the human side of follow-up.
Yeah, there you go. The human side of follow-up.
That's right. This episode has been brought to you by the human side of follow-up.
Exactly.
It's so good. Any other pieces of wisdom or things that people need to hear about follow-up?
Oh man, we could talk for another couple hours on this topic. I just think that the biggest takeaway of this is be intentional when you're listening and having that conversation. Listen with an empathetic ear and follow up with those little nuggets that, use your client's own words.
Yeah.
When you're following up.
Yeah.
And it's going to take a process of, you're not going to get it right initially. You're probably the next sales meeting you're going into, or the next opportunity you have for a sale, you're going to walk away from it and go, I didn't ask that question that I should have asked about. How does this make you feel? But eventually you'll get it.
You can also, I've done it before where I didn't get a piece of information I wanted after they left. And then that's even more follow-up. I follow up and ask a question like, hey, listen, I had this question come up after you left. and then ask an empathetic question and see what you get in response. But
yeah,
it's not over. Even after they leave, it's not over. I mean, that's the whole point about follow-up, is it's not over. Even after the meeting's over, you keep following up.
right. And when somebody sees you as really caring about them,
yeah,
that's gigantic.
Yeah.
Especially in our noisy, business culture,
right,
where everybody's just, looking for the next deal. When you'll definitely set yourself apart with that mindset.
Yeah, big time. Well, I know that you do a lot of work with companies, whether it's guest speaking or workshops. I know you also do consultations inside your business, Well-Dressed Walrus, for playbooks and all kinds of stuff. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff you do in the world of marketing. So how do people reach out to you?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter where you want to start in fixing your marketing message. You can start with something as simple as what to say when somebody asks, what do you do? All the way to, a gigantic website build, or a, full email campaign process. It all starts with an initial consultation of just having a conversation about where you feel stuck.
Yeah. And where do they go to connect with you for that conversation?
You can go to welldressedwalrus.com, or you can go to clarifymymarketing.com. Either way, you can connect with me and have a conversation.
Nice. Good stuff, man. I love it. Here's to the human side of Followup.
Yeah, man.
Great episode, Kurt. Thanks. See you next time.
Chris.